You hear the name Caligula, and you probably think madness, right? But what if I told you it wasn't just random chaos? What if his entire reign was a system? A carefully crafted machine of terror, designed specifically to break the most powerful people in Rome. Let's really get into this and pull apart how an empire can be built on nothing but fear.
Okay, let's put you right in the scene. Picture this. You're a Roman senator. An invitation shows up at your door. Well, it's less of an invitation and more of a command, really. You have to go to a banquet at the Imperial Palace. And when you get there, the air is just thick with the smell of roasted boar and wine. But underneath all that, there's this tension, something you can almost taste. You realize pretty fast, this isn't a party. No, this is a performance. And you're one of the actors.
So you're seated by rank, of course. You're just 3 cushions away from the emperor himself. That's close. Way too close. Close enough to see every flicker of a smile or a scowl on his face. And you can feel it, right? The weight of his eyes as they just sweep across the room, lingering, always lingering on the wives and the daughters of the most powerful men in Rome.
And tonight, your daughter is with you. She's not even 16. You can see her hands just nervously fidgeting with her shawl. Now, being here, in this room, surrounded by the elite, that should be a symbol of your family's status, right? But tonight, you know it's not. It's a vulnerability, a massive one. And the terrifying part? You both know it.
And then, it's like the music just fades into the background. The emperor gets up. He starts walking down the hall, in total silence. He passes generals, powerful politicians, men who command entire legions, and nobody even breathes. And then, he stops, right behind your daughter. His hand, it just settles on her shoulder, and his eyes find yours across the room. In that one horrible moment, you get it. You understand the one unspoken rule of this world. Inside this palace, resistance is consent to death. So you do what every other father in that room has been forced to do. You nod. Maybe you even force a smile. And you watch. You just watch as she's led away. Because here, in Caligula's palace, your survival is bought with your silence.
So, how on earth did it get this bad? How did the golden boy of Rome, their greatest hope, turn into this monster? Well, to really understand the terror, you have to go back. You have to understand the hope, the absolute love that came first. You really can't overstate how excited everyone was in March of 37 AD. Caligula, the son of the legendary beloved General Germanicus, was finally emperor. People were celebrating in the streets. He lowered taxes. He freed prisoners. For about 7 months, it felt like a dream, a new golden age. But then, that October, he gets hit with this violent, mysterious fever. The entire empire is praying, holding its breath for him to recover. And he does. He recovers. But, as the story goes, the man who opened his eyes was not the man who had closed them.
And what came next, this is the crucial part. It wasn't just random cruelty. It wasn't impulsive madness. No. Caligula built something, an actual architecture of fear, a methodical, deliberate system designed for one thing, psychological control. And those banquets we talked about, that was his stage.
And this routine he developed was just brutally effective. Here's how it worked. First, the invitation. It's mandatory. You don't show, it's a massive insult. Then, the public evaluation. He'd literally walk around and praise or criticize the wives and daughters right in front of their husbands. Think about that humiliation. Next, the silent summons. Just a nod, a quiet word to a guard, and a woman would be led away. And the final, most twisted step? Forced complicity. The party just goes on. The husband has to sit there and pretend nothing happened. It's not just cruelty. It's a performance designed to shatter your soul.
So you're probably thinking, how did people cope with this? Well, some got creative. They turned their submission into a public spectacle. There's this incredible story about a noblewoman, Livia Paulina. She shows up to one of these banquets wearing emeralds worth 40 million sesterces. Now, this wasn't her showing off her wealth as an act of defiance. Oh no, it was the complete opposite. It was a billboard saying, "We get it, we know the rules, we're on board." It was a performance of compliance.
And that story perfectly illustrates the unwritten but terrifyingly brilliant rules of Caligula's game. See, he knew that if punishment is predictable, people will unite against it. But if it's random, that just creates fear and isolates everyone. He made loyalty to your own family a direct threat to him. Suddenly, who you married was less about love and more about getting access to the emperor. Submission literally became a form of currency, and by making everyone show up to these banquets, he made every single person there an accomplice in their own humiliation.
Okay, so in a system that's literally designed to tear people apart and make them distrust each other, how do you even begin to fight back? A big rebellion? No way! That would be impossible. The answer, it turns out, was something much smaller. A desperate little plot, born not from politics, but from personal humiliation that just finally boiled over.
It all started with a guy named Cassius Dio. Now, this wasn't some nobody. He was a decorated tribune in the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's own bodyguards. And for some reason, Caligula just had it in for him. He would mock him relentlessly, publicly, forcing him to use these obscene, degrading passwords in front of his own soldiers. And that wasn't just a personal insult. It was an attack on the honor of the entire Praetorian Guard.
And here's the crazy irony. The very system of terror that Caligula created is what allowed the plot to succeed. He'd made everyone so paranoid, so distrustful, that a big conspiracy could never have formed. It would have been ratted out in a second. But a tiny plot, just 3, maybe 4 guys, driven by pure personal revenge, that could fly completely under the radar.
So, on January 24th, 41 AD, they made their move. They cornered Caligula in a narrow corridor in the palace and stabbed him. Not once or twice, over 30 times. But the bloodshed didn't stop with him. They then killed his wife, and in one of the most chilling acts in Roman history, they took his infant daughter and smashed her against a wall. This wasn't just an assassination. This was an erasure.
The tyrant was dead. You'd think that's the end of the story, right? Freedom, relief. But no. The terror he perfected, that didn't die with him. In fact, what happened next revealed a truly shocking truth. The system was way more powerful than the man. I mean, for a few hours, the Senate actually talked about bringing back the Republic. But it was a total fantasy. Why? They had no power, no army. The Praetorian Guard, on the other hand, they had all the power. And what did they do? They found Caligula's uncle, Claudius, literally hiding behind a curtain and hailed him as the new emperor. Why? Because he promised them a huge payday. And just like that, nothing really changed. The emperor is dead, long live the emperor. Power was still absolute, the elite were still compliant, and the guard, well, they just got paid more. So what was Rome's official response to all this? Did they reflect? Did they try to fix the system? Nope, they decided to just erase him. It's a practice called damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. They tore down his statues, chiseled his name off of buildings, pretended he never existed. See, by labeling him a one-off madman, the whole system could wash its hands of any responsibility. It wasn't Rome's fault. They were just the victims of a monster, right? Which brings us to the really important question, the one we have to ask. The monster is gone. His name is being scraped off of history. So, what did Caligula's death actually teach Rome? What was the lesson here?
And the answer is pretty chilling. It didn't teach them about honor or justice. It taught Rome what it could endure. It taught the powerful how much they were willing to swallow to survive. And maybe most importantly, it taught them what they could erase. Because in the end, the banquets kept going. The absolute power stayed absolute. And the victims, their stories were forgotten. Their silence making sure that the empire never ever had to look its own reflection in the eye.